I got Raheem. We're just figuring out, Jack, my 4-box on my screen. That's why. Sorry for that. No, let's do it. Yeah, even if I'm recording anyway, so it's all good. All right, here we go. In 3, 2, and 1. Coming up, 11 a.m. Eastern here on YouTube TV and off. Actually, what am I saying for the FanDuel TV digital? Just met. Okay, that's, I mean, I'll just say YouTube TV so it's not a mouthful. Okay, that's fine. All right, here we go. 3, 2, and 1. Coming up, 11 a.m. Eastern, YouTube TV. It's the Ringer Sunday pregame, getting ready for Week 8 in the NFL. And Joe House, right out of the gate, will your guy be able to give it a go? It's one of the million-dollar questions today.
JJ, it's the week of Halloween, and I think Washington has a trick up its sleeve. I don't think we see Jaden Daniels today, but they sure are talking like he's going to be out there.
Well, I like the sound of that. You know what else I like, Raheem? My guy Tua is back. Hallelujah.
Good for the Miami Dolphins, because you guys have been struggling. So I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck.
Struggling, an understatement. I mean, my goodness, they've been one of the worst teams in the league. And Sal, speaking of struggling, Sunday night, your Mets are in the rearview mirror. I'm still salty about my Yankees. Your Cowboys have a pulse?
I was going to say, you are a true American hero for gracing us with your presence. For this hour and a half, you could forget about baseball. But yes, I feel like the Cowboys will have a pulse and then in classic fashion blow it at the end against the 49ers.
Well, at least Aaron Boone decided to use Tim Hill against Freddie Freeman in one of the games.
That's right.
A little too late. Hopefully our picks aren't too little too late. 11 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you on YouTube TV. Should I tell Ronick that, or no? That doesn't matter for me. Ronick, I think they're resetting like a Zoom link. Jack was saying they're gonna like reset a Zoom link. I don't know what that means, but I mean, I did.
All right. So Jack, hang up and then reactivate on the new link.
Wow. Yeah. Yep.
Deep.
All right, cool.
Let's roll, baby. Welcome in. It is the Week 8 edition of the Ringer Sunday pregame. We are rocking. We are rolling right here on YouTube TV. The boys are back. We are in our respective compounds. Let's welcome in Cousin Sal. Joe House looking spiffy. Raheem Palmer in Viva Las Vegas. And Sal, this show is going to be very therapeutic for me because I don't have to dissect Aaron Boone's stupidity in game one or the fact that I think Aaron Judge just struck out again. I'm in football mode at least for the next 8 hours, okay, pal?
You didn't even have to mention that much. We could have just gone right into it, but this is at least a nice reprieve, a nice hour and a half where you don't have to think about it, and hopefully we don't provide any Nestor Cortez-type picks in the next 90 minutes.
Well, that would be nice. I am giving my guy Nestor a pass when you haven't pitched in 30-plus days and you have to go and get Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman out. What do you think is going to happen? But how's your team, and we'll get to your wise wager a little bit later on, so I don't want you to spoil it. It's kind of involved in flux here on this particular Sunday morning because all week we thought it was going to be Marcus Mariota at quarterback for the Commanders. And now it looks like maybe Jaden Daniels to the rescue. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll break it down when I give my wise wager. I feel like there could be a trick up somebody's sleeve here with this Jaden Daniels news. But either way, this Bears defense is ferocious. It will be, for Washington, by far their biggest test against a formidable pass defense.
So, Raheem, early in the year, it felt like the underdog was winning and winning big, and it was so difficult to try to throw together favorites and moneyline parlays and teasers and all that mumbo jumbo. But we have seen the Empire strike back in a big way. And if you look at the board here for Week 8, Raheem, we got ourselves a whole lot of big favorites.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the last 2 weeks, road favorites are 17-2 against the spread. And at some point, that has to come back down to earth. I think you're going to see it happen this week.
Ooh, you're telling me there might be a market correction. All right, we got so much coming your way here in the Ringer Sunday pregame. We'll sniff out those rat lines that seem a little too good to be true. We'll have a bunch of SGPs. We'll put together our family meal. After the first hour of the show, Craig Horlback, one of the fantasy connoisseurs from the Ringer, will join us. And he better have some picks. I'm sorry, you come on the Ringer Sunday pregame. We're not doing start-sit fantasy football content. You better have winners. You better have picks. That's what we do around here. Speaking of what we do around here, guys, it's time to wisen up. It is time to wisen up. And Cousin Sal, you have been red hot. You have found your mojo. You're taking it back to where we were a year ago where you're cashing in a big way. Let's keep those good vibes going. You laid a big number last week with the Buffalo Bills. And one of my great regrets from last Sunday, Sal, is when you suggested to bet the Bills minus 130 live. Neither one of us decided to do so. But be that as it may, it's Week 8, and you're not going with a big favorite. Instead, you're giving us a dog that might be a team that nobody wants to bet this week.
I know you hate this. I know probably everyone hates this. I'm 5-2 though with the wisest wagers. I'm in first place. I'm looking to defend my title. And how am I doing it? I'm taking the Patriots +7 in Week 8. And 2 reasons for this seemingly stupid pick. One is I'm not that worried about you guys catching me. Honestly, I'm not. I look at the standings. Who's below? You Ford numbskull, so I don't care. Also, I think the Pats really have a chance to win this, right? Let's think about this. The Jets offense has scored 2 more points this year than they did at this time last year. Would you take Zach Wilson's offense -7 on the road at Gillette last year? Would you have done that? No way you would have done that. I like the Pats in this spot. They come off that 24-3 stinker from Thursday night a few weeks ago against the Jets. And by the way, Rodgers isn't showing us anything special. I really think like Drake May has another multi-touchdown game. We're looking at a possibility of an upset. The coach called the team soft. They're going to react to that. I'm going to say 2019. This is not my dog, but I'm going to say the Patriots win the game. But for the purposes of wisest wager, I'm taking them +7, JJ.
Taking a Gerard Mayo coach team. And listen, I understand laying 7 with the Jets is not appetizing, but with all of the stuff coming out of New England, Sal, for me at least, I looked at this game as a stay away. Now, Raheem, Sal went with an underdog. You have kind of gone off the beaten path a little bit with the wise wager, and now you're getting into the total business. So we're in Vegas. It's new line of work for you this week in the studio, and it's a new line of work when it comes to a total for a wise wager. What would it be, Dream?
Yeah, I'm being a running rebel this week, as you see on my jersey. I'm repping Larry Johnson, but that's neither here nor there. I lost my first wisest wager in a month last week on the Jets, so I don't want to think about a side right now. We're going to go with the total. We're going to go with the Ravens-Browns over 44.5. I really like this one. Obviously, 44 is a key number. Unfortunately, we do have the hook on there. 44 comes out about 4% of the time. But anyway, you look at this Ravens offense, they're completely lighting it up. You're talking about 31 points per game, and I see no reason why they don't stop scoring here. You look at that Chiefs defense with Steve Spagnuolo. That's the only team to hold this Ravens team to 20 points or less. And since then, they've put up 28, 35, 41, 30, and 41 points against the Cowboys, Bills, Bengals, Commanders, and Buccaneers. But if you look at the other side of the ball, the Browns have a massive upgrade because Deshaun Watson is no longer playing football. They got Jameis Winston in there. You look at Deshaun Watson. He took 33 sacks this year, a league-leading 33 sacks. And, the second worst in that regard was Sam Darnold with 21. And, besides the sacks, Deshaun Watson is playing at a historically horrible level in terms of EPA per play, success rate, every metric. He was horrible. You bring in Jameis Winston, the offensive line is getting better. You look at the fact that the Ravens, they're banged up in the secondary. Marlon Humphrey isn't playing. And you got Jameis Winston who could throw the ball down the field. You look at their Ravens first-round pick at corner, Nate Wiggins, he's been downgraded to out. So if the secondary is banged up, Jameis can throw the ball down the field. They're probably going to be chasing points with this Ravens offense. I like the over 44.5. I think this line should be around 47, 48.
Wow, Raheem going over, and you can always count on Raheem to be tied in, getting sucked into the Jameis Winston narrative. He loves some famous Jameis. Okay, House, your wise wager is going to be in your neck of the woods. The question is, are you going with your heart? Yay or nay? I saw this on the sheet. Curious to see which way you're going to go. Bears commies is your wise wager, but what's the pick?
Yeah, JJ, I'm on the Bears this week. Chicago -1.5 here in Washington. It's a homecoming for Caleb Williams. Eagles fly high from the Gonzaga College High School. The news reports and the line all suggest that Jaden Daniels is going to try and give it a go this week. I sincerely hope, fellas, that this is just gamesmanship, that this Halloween week it's a trick, because I don't want Jaden Daniels in any kind of compromised position against the Chicago Bears defense. This defense is top 5 in a lot of passing metrics. They're the #1 pass defense in the league across the board, and you can't have Jaden Daniels out there unable to run or protecting himself. So I hope that what this is Washington preparing for this Bears defense that's coming off of a bye, rested and with good health, trying to gain an advantage. The other side of the ball, and part of why I think Chicago might have been live even with Jaden Daniels playing, they have gotten much better on offense. Caleb had his best game of his career in London against the Jaguars. They are averaging more points per drive. They're all the way up to 7th after starting off very slowly, and they are converting their red zone trips. They're 3rd in the league in converting their red zone trips. So I think it's just a tough spot for Washington with Jaden healthy or not. 3 division games coming up for Washington. Let's just get through this game and then focus on taking down the NFC East, fellas. But I like the Bears -1.5 today.
And this line has moved a little bit with the quarterback news. It looked like House was going to be laying points on the road with Chicago. That is obviously no longer the case. Now, gentlemen, I proclaimed on this show after week 3 that until the Miami Dolphins have Tua back at quarterback, they are persona non grata. I'm not taking them. I'm not going anywhere near them. It's fade or stay away. Well, the return of Tua is here. And what I am going to do is I am going to throw all my chips in the middle of the table. I am all in on this particular game to get me back to 500 here with the wise wager. I'm throwing a homer pick your way. And it's not just me rooting for Tua and the Miami Dolphins. I'm laying the 4.5 here on a couple of different fronts. Number one, this is a very difficult spot for the Arizona Cardinals. They played a Monday night game, physical game against the Los Angeles Chargers. Short week, on the road, traveling across the country. Miami gets their quarterback back. Emotional lift. Now, Zach Sealer is not going to play. big loss on that defensive line. But the Miami defense has been much better than people think. It actually, statistically speaking, has played like a top 12 defense in the league. I don't love what I've seen from Kyler Murray as of late. And now you can get Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle out of witness protection because they actually have a quarterback who can throw them the football. The Miami Dolphins, kitchen sink game. They don't win. They don't cover this game. They are dead for the 2024 season. And I proclaim if they don't cover this number, I will not take them again the rest of the season. You heard it here first here on the Ringer Sunday pregame.
Wow.
Dolphins win.
right
Dolphins
back
cover.
In.
That's right. No,
that did not
Sal,
take long at all.
Sal, I am sucked back in for one particular Sunday.
Okay.
I didn't say I'm sucked back in for the season. But on this particular Sunday, Sal, the spot screams Miami.
Well, if Miami doesn't win this game, Mike McDaniel's going to get fired, and then you're going to get suckered in again.
Right. How many different ways can we sucker in JJ?
You know, that will be rather something, Raheem, to fire a coach who just got himself a big fat contract extension, but it is the NFL. It is fake money, and stranger things have happened. So that's going to do it for all wise wagers.
You don't want McDaniel pulling Tua after 88 pitches. That's the only, that would just crush it.
There we go. I have to go from what I saw on Friday night to now you getting me all wrapped up and all angered and all disgusted in trying to make me as just convoluted and discombobulated as possible. Anyway, Sal, I need to get back on track here because I feel like I've kind of gone off the beaten path a little bit. I need an SGP. I need a winner. What do you got for me?
All right. Well, I lost last week, but I'm going to bounce back. This Philly-Cincinnati game fascinates me, so I'm going to hit it 4 ways on a same-game parlay. I'm adjusting the Eagles to plus 7.5. I like them to keep this game in reach. I'm not impressed with Cincy's ability to close out games. We saw what they did against the Giants. Not impressive at all. We saw what they did against the Browns. Over 41.5 points adjusted. Expect points. Burrow's always going to get his touchdowns. He actually averaged 2 touchdown passes in 5 of his last 7. I still think Eagles keep it close, but Burrow will get points, and it'll be a high-scoring affair. Jamar Chase, 60-plus yards. He's hit this in 4 of his last 5 games. Always a long reception in there. Should put him over. And Jalen Hurts, anytime touchdown. He's done this for as long as they've allowed offensive linemen to shove buttocks forward. And so this pays plus 409. He's got 4 rushing touchdowns. 4 legs, 2 wings, plus 409, JJ.
Like the sound of it, Sal. And, you know, there are certain games that I think really profile in the SGP variety. Philly and Cincinnati is absolutely positively one of those games. But speaking of Raheem, you have another game that I think kind of fits that SGP motif. It's not Cincy and Philly, but it's going in a different direction.
Yeah, my SGP has to do with the Packers and the fact that they're playing a Jaguars defense, which is 32nd in dropback EPA per play and 26th in dropback success rate. The Packers should be able to get anything they want in this game. So I'm going to go with Jordan Love, over 258 passing yards. Jayden Reed, over 57.5 receiving yards. Christian Watson, over 27.5 receiving yards. Packers team total over 26.5, and Packers money line. You look at this Jaguars team, they stink defensively. They're 31st in opponent passing yards per game, 273. Jordan Love, he's hit that plenty of times this year. And if you look at the Jags opposing quarterbacks, Drake May, 276 yards. Joe Flacco, 359. CJ Stroud, 345. Like, everybody is passing all over this Jaguars defense, and I expect the Packers to be able to do it today, and I think they're going to be able to score at will. So I'm rolling with that.
Fair enough, Raheem. I may have some thoughts, by the way, on that Packer-Jaguar game, and that might be coming up a little bit later on in the show. Before we get to our rat lines of the week, before we get to more SGPs and an OMG better too, the Ringer NFL guys were out in California annoying Sal because they wanted to have the red zone on, which, by the way, is just amateur hour when you set up 4 boxes across the board. And Sal and I basically said, enough of that mumbo-jumbo. This is how we do it, to quote Montel Jordan. But anyway, those Ringer NFL guys that are outstanding people, they got a couple of guest picks for us. Let's hear.
Sheil Kapadia here from the Ringer NFL show. One pick I like in Week 8, Joe Burrow under 257.5 passing yards. This Eagles defense has been playing a lot better in recent weeks. I know this is a bigger test, but I think their corners are going to give those Bengals wide receivers a tough time. I also think the Eagles are going to run the ball, so the Bengals aren't going to have a lot of possessions. So Joe Burrow under 257.5 passing yards. Lock it up.
my favorite pick for week 8 is Denver laying 10.5 points against the Panthers. This is less about Bo Nix. I'm not very confident in laying 10 points on Bo Nix, and more about Bryce Young going up against the worst possible matchup in Denver's defense. They like to overwhelm quarterbacks, and Bryce Young has been a quarterback who has been easily overwhelmed throughout his career.
So good for Ruiz. He's showing some stones and some chutzpah, laying 10.5. House, I understand Bryce Young is unplayable. How are we laying 10.5 with the Broncos? Like, I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad pick, but like that is a game to me that when I was going through the core and I'm thinking about week 8, I go, no, that's an immediate stay away. I'm not laying 10.5 with an offense I don't trust. Sorry, can't do it.
Well, I actually do trust that offense, and I think they're going to run the football down the Panthers' throat. They don't have to do anything tricky, and Sean Payton won't ask them to do anything tricky. I actually don't mind laying the points here because you said the most important observation at the top, Bryce Young can't play football. So I love this.
You know,
and Sal, we know one of these big favorites today is going down. I don't know who it is, and I'm still trying to figure out, okay, who's going to lose outright between one of these, 9, 10, 11-point favorites. I just know one of them is going to go down because that's life in the NFL.
This could be it for sure. Denver, they've been lucky along the way, winning that Jets game with a field goal and a missed field goal the other way. But Raheem really kind of crystallized it in a tweet this week, and he said, "I'm going to botch it," but I think the long and the short of it was we could put our models and points, and maybe the Panthers should be getting only 8.5 here, and then we lose sight of what's a bad team. And I think the Panthers are a bad team. Did I give it justice there, Raheem? And what I'm saying?
I mean, you definitely gave it justice. And I look at my model, and personally, I have the Panthers being 16 points worse than an average team. Like, this team stinks on offense, and everybody is injured on defense. So, like honestly, the Broncos could win this game 20-3 and easily cover this number. Like, that's feasible. And if you look at their season, they are top 5 in defensive DVOA, top 5 in EPA per play on defense. Like, in every statistical category on defense, they are a top tier defense. So if Bryce Young is going up against that, tell me how they score. And then tell me how the Panthers stop them. So I actually have this number being 13. So I think there's value here.
Wow, so the boys endorsing the double-digit favorite, which is something we normally don't get around here on the Ringer Sunday pregame.
I can tell you who's going to lose. It's going to be the Lions. They're not covering that number. They will probably win, but I mean, statistically, Dan Campbell, he hasn't really covered that much as a double-digit favorite. You look at the Lions over their last 35 games. I think they're 28-7 against the spread. They're putting this number out there at 11.5. Just because at some point the market has to catch up with the Lions, and I think it might be this week.
Wow, I thought maybe that would be
over. So much carrying over. UFC with the Lions, college football with the Lions, EPL. That'd be a disgusting start of the day for me.
I thought that might be an OMG bet, by the way, with the way Raheem was setting it up with the Tennessee Titans. We'll get to that momentarily, but before we do that, guys, it's time to sniff out and find the stinky of the stinky. They were crawling all over New York City when I got back after Game 2 of the World Series. It's time for our Week 8 Rat Lines. All right, we're getting made. Rat Line of the Week. Raheem, I'm starting with you because it's a game that was featured by Shield regarding a player prop with Joe Burrow. Why is Cincinnati, Philadelphia a rat line in your opinion?
Okay, this is a rat line because these are two equally matched teams. And I mean, they're literally the same team. The last 2 weeks, the Eagles played the Browns and the Giants. The last 2 weeks, the Bengals played the Giants and the Browns. The Eagles laid 3 to the Giants on the road. The Bengals laid 3 to the Giants on the road. The Eagles laid 9.5 to the Browns at home. The Bengals laid 5.5 to the Browns on the road. Both of these teams covered both of those games. Now, you look at these two teams playing, the Bengals are laying 2.5 to the Eagles, but there is no home field advantage in the NFL this year. Home teams are 54-54, dead even. And then, if you look against the spread, home teams are 43-61-4. So you look at this situation, and the market is telling you that the Bengals are the better team and they're at home, but they're in a more desperate situation. And like, I just don't know how you can back the Bengals here. They're missing T. Higgins. And then you look at the Eagles, outside of their injury-riddled game against the Buccaneers, the only game they lost was against the Falcons, and they probably should have won that game. But Jalen Hurts has been like horrible this year. Like, I don't even know how they're winning these games. So to me, I think both teams have question marks coming into this game, and I don't know who is like the better team. So I think you have to stay away from this one. I think this is the perfect line.
So full disclosure, I bet Cincinnati earlier in the week. It is what it is. I felt a lot better about that bet before we got the T. Higgins Saturday news drop and the idea that he may not be able to give it a go. We'll find out if he's officially in or out when the inactives come out, which should be in the next, I don't know, half hour, give or take. Okay, Sal, your rat line features a division that is usually full of rat lines.
Yeah.
Please explain.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I think we should go back. People should know, I believe you coined the phrase rat line, right? I mean, it's the first time I heard it. It was when you said
Are you telling me I need a copyright on this? Do I need to
Well,
talk to Simmons about such things?
I think we should open a rat line Hall of Fame, and you should designate wherever you want it to be. Maybe it's in Brooklyn. Maybe it's right in your backyard. It would make sense on many levels there. And I think the first inductee should be the Atlanta Falcons in any game they play, because I look at this Tampa Bay game. They go to Tampa Bay. They were 2.5 favorite at home a few weeks ago on that Thursday night, and now they're a 2.5 favorite on the road at Tampa Bay. And you can't tell me it's because Tampa Bay's down a couple receivers. That doesn't move the line that much. It just doesn't. We saw Malik Neighbors didn't even play for the Giants, and they squeezed Seattle. They beat the crap out of them. So I just think it's weird. I thought that Thursday night football game was weird a couple of weeks ago. I don't think we're going to see Cousins pass for 500-plus yards. Tampa Bay blew this. And for this line to move that much, I just don't totally trust Tampa Bay and Todd Bowles. Otherwise, that would be my pick. But it's a stay away. Lots of rats on that Bucs pirate ship, JJ.
Yeah, I understand that. Official, by the way, from Schefter, T. Higgins will not be playing Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, House, your rat line has a little bit of a correlation with our buddy Dreams' wisest wager. Elaborate.
Yeah, I'm looking at this Ravens-Browns game. The Ravens are laying 8.5 at Cleveland, and I think that is a perfectly fine line if Deshaun Watson was going to be the quarterback. But, boys, this is a finger-looking good opportunity for the Cleveland Browns here. I think that this is a divisional game where these teams split the series 5 of the last 6 seasons, and all these matchups always end up inside of 6 points. So this is a brand new version of Cleveland, a brand new opportunity for Cleveland to change the course of its season. And for Cleveland, their offensive line is finally getting healthy. The Ravens are in a tough spot here. Back-to-back road games on a short week, and they are missing both their first-string Marlon Humphrey cornerback and his backup, Nate Wiggins. So just one to be very careful with. I like Cleveland in this situation, to be honest with you guys.
Well, guys, for a rat line for me, it's Green Bay and Jacksonville. You have Green Bay laying a small number against a defense and a team that has left so much to be desired throughout the course of this year. This line sitting there at 3.5 is begging you to go and take the Green Bay Packers. But I'm going to throw some caution to the wind here. The Green Bay Packers have a couple of monstrous games coming their way, including a game next week against the Detroit Lions. This one stinks to the high heavens. Green Bay last week, incredibly fortunate with the way they turned the football over. Now, yes, I'm a little salty and I'm a little ticked off. They didn't cover that 2.5, which they should have, oh, by the way, against the Houston Texans. But this game, from a spread perspective, you are dying to get backdoored here. There is just too much stench on this one. Stay away from Green Bay and Jacksonville. Now,
I agree.
I think
Jacksonville. I'm sorry, Jacksonville. No, that's right. No, they might be a bad team. You could write them off. They're not going to make the playoffs. Trevor Lawrence is going to screw somebody somewhere along the way, and it could be this week.
Yeah, it's just a terrible situation to go and take the Packers. I'm sorry, laying 3.5 with the way this line has moved against them. It's Jaguars or pass, but with the way the Jaguars have looked this year, I'm just going to pass. All right, we go from our rat lines to our OMG lines. I'm going to start the proceedings on this because OMG kind of originated from Mr. Iglesias on the New York Mets. I'm going to go to New York team as my OMG bet. I'm taking the Giants plus the 6. I understand Andrew Thomas is out. I understand their offensive line against the Steelers D-line seems like a mismatch. The Giants cover these games on the road. I'm not laying 6 points with Russell Wilson. Are you kidding me? After what happened last week against the Jets, now all of a sudden I'm going to lay 6 with Russell Wilson? No, thank you. OMG, I can't believe I'm doing this, Raheem. I'm taking the Giants, and rumor has it, I may have company on this game.
You definitely have company. I actually thought OMG originated from Usher and What I Am, but maybe that's because I'm out here in Vegas. But I always take Daniel Jones on the road. You're talking about a guy who's 19-12, 61% on the road. And the biggest thing about this game is that Mike Tomlin has never been good as a favorite. 89-68, 47% as a favorite throughout his career. And when Mike Tomlin is a favorite of 6 or more, he's just 37-43. That's 46%. And as you know, if you're betting on NFL spreads, your break-even rate is 52.38%. So I think that meets the threshold here. If you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, they were a home underdog last week, and now you're a home favorite. Like, after just one performance, I think that's an overreaction. I'm going to ride with the New York Football Giants.
How's quickly? Your route line happens to be your OMG bet. Let's hear.
Yeah, I think the Browns are live on the money line. This pass defense of the Ravens is gettable, and Jameis Winston is going to throw the ball until his arm falls off. So I really think that the Browns, their offensive line finally healthy, and it's just a bad spot historically for the Ravens. We'll put that up against the 17-2 road favorites. The regression we're expecting here. The Browns always play the Ravens tough. These are always field goal games. So I like the opportunity here to cash plus 330 on the money line.
Juicy payout. Maybe a little bit of a surprise. It's not man's best bet. Sal, finally, you're looking at a player prop for an OMG bet.
You guys might be right about the Panthers getting blown out and Denver's much better. I'm going Bryce Young to throw a touchdown pass. Bryce Young to actually throw a touchdown pass. Broncos, right, third in total defense, third in pass defense. They've allowed 6 touchdowns, passes all year. This is an OMG with a capital O, but Jake Haener threw a touchdown pass against the Broncos. Bryce Young, the #1 pick from last year, should be able to do the same, and they don't want to start Andy Dalton. They're not going to do this benching thing, bring him in and out. Andy Dalton was in a car accident. Bryce Young has to put the big boy pants on. He's going from start to finish this game. He can't get a garbage touchdown pass. Come on, Bryce, step it up. -146 to throw a touchdown.
Time out. We don't have...
Well, you don't have time for a timeout, Raheem. We got to go to break. We got man's best bet. We got a family meal. OMG, we'll get more from the Ringer Sunday pregame coming up next.
What happened?
The Cowboys' dysfunction is almost the second story here, and that's never the case.
Yeah.
Especially for us. Like, we love content, and the Cowboys are content, basically. But I also agree with you. I think San Francisco wins this game. I don't think it's close, and I think the conversation, instead of about being Kyle Shanahan, is Kyle Shanahan back? I think it's going to be Mike McCarthy. Another egg laid on Sunday Night Football against this team, against this classic rival. And I don't know what the answer is for the Cowboys offense. It seems like they're running out of answers as we go and get deeper into the season.
Not just that, this is a bad week, I think, for this offense to try to find a rhythm. When you think about how the 49ers like to play, you're going to get a lot of split safety shells. And I think that for this team to get back in rhythm, it would require a perfect Dak Prescott game. And the thing that we've seen when these teams play each other is because San Francisco is so committed to keeping a roof over this offense, you get forced into these positions where Dak has to try high degree of difficulty throws. And that's where you get a Fred Warner interception or a forced fumble on a check down.
Feels exactly like those conversations towards the end of the Aaron Rodgers era, where he was not shy about explaining how he felt that offense was operating, and now we're having those conversations because this has been an efficient offense before, but now it's not, and they don't. You're right; they don't have a plan B. They don't have a curveball.
When the defense adjusts, do you adjust? And we haven't seen an adjustment from McCarthy in Dallas, and we never saw one in Green Bay at the end of his tenure. And it's the same issues all over again. Like, we can't beat tight coverage. We put too much on the quarterback to be perfect. We're not generating explosive plays that are easy to complete. I think a lot of us saw this coming. I'm not trying to pat ourselves on the back. I think a lot of people questioned the Mike McCarthy hire when it happened, like a retread coach, and it's been everything we thought it would be in a bad way.
Welcome back to the Ringer Sunday pregame here on YouTube TV. And can't believe it's week 8 already. The season is heating up, but prices are cooling down for NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV. Sign up for only $209 the rest of the season. Watch every game every Sunday with game day features like multi-view and fantasy view included. Terms and embargoes apply. All right, the boys are back. We'll get to some YouTube comments. We got Man's Best Bet. We got our family meal. Raheem, I had to rudely cut you off because you had some thoughts on our buddy Sal's OMG bet. You wanted to get it in. I told you weren't allowed, but I'm a man of honor. I want you to have the last word here on this OMG bet. The floor is yours, sir.
So I got to understand.
Oh, we got to take a break. Okay,
Bryce Young has thrown 0 touchdown passes this year, and they're charging us minus 146 juice. That denotes about a 60% chance of him throwing a touchdown.
Yeah.
And you're paying that juice.
Listen, it's not called the OMG section for nothing. I'm disgraced. I'm disgusted with myself for putting it on there, but it's going to happen today, Raheem. It's going to be a whole thing like, oh, maybe he should be. Maybe we yanked him too early. It's not going to make any sense, but it's going to happen. Touchdown.
Hey, Raheem, even though he's got to lay juice, and I understand we haven't seen it, all it takes is one, amigo. That's it. All it takes is one. So it's not a bet I'd want to fade. Let's put it that way. Would you take that action if Sal said, hey, you would? I think you would.
I think I would.
He's feeling it.
I want to take that action. I'm going to hit you on the side. I'll
Okay,
Venmo
good.
you personally.
Good,
It'll
let's
be a
do it.
one-sided bet if you hit that one.
What are the
Jesus, I have to root
rules?
for Bryce
What are the
Young.
rules? If he gets crushed on the backside, the ball flies up in the air, and he stumbles and catches it himself and runs it in, does that count? Is that a passing touchdown?
That counts for me.
That's touchdown.
That's it? A touchdown?
If that's
Is a
the best you can
touchdown?
do,
Is a
God bless.
touchdown.
Yeah.
Guys, let's get to a YouTube comment here. This one actually comes from JW. Can we get a Sal special for Monday Night Football? Sal, this one's all you. Steelers to not win the half, Steelers to win the game?
Yes, it's an automatic yes. You guys don't even have to write in anymore. And it's not even, I'm not even saying it hits this week, but it hits every 3 or 4 weeks, and it's paying +6, 650, 7-1, 8-1. You're going to make money on it. It's already been in 3 times this year. The Steelers get off to a slow start, almost always, and then they wrap it up and they grind you down, and they benefit from this more than anybody except for the Chiefs. Chiefs are another team that's down in the first half and wins the game, but you get better odds with the Steelers because they're not as formidable, not as flashy, and not as sexy as the Chiefs.
Fine by me. As long as our Giants, Raheem, can pull through and cover the 6, we can have ourselves this Sal special. Seem like I'm ordering spaghetti, meatballs. No, a Sal special. That's coming your way later. If you want to leave a comment or a question for all of the wise guys, you can do so if you're watching here on YouTube and YouTube TV. Now, it's time for one of my favorite segments on this show. A segment that happens to be quite profitable for a certain panelist on the particular show. And last year was Joe House. This year, it's the King of New York. I guess I should rephrase the King of the Dogs. It's time for Man's Best Bet. Now, I have to admit, I have a problem with one of the dogs that's being given out by one of 4 of you. And I'm going to tell you why. We have a certain panelist on this show that has mocked myself, that has mocked Raheem Palmer, that has mocked Joe House for giving out the small dog. Cousin Sal, now all of a sudden you're buying into the small dog. And listen, I like it. I respect it. It's about time. But why the about face?
Because you can't beat them, you got to join them. I see you guys in Chihuahua land, rejoicing, and these puppies jumping in your lap, and they're small, they're microscopic. You can't even barely call them dogs. I think somebody took a -108 as a dog a couple weeks ago, and you know what? You're winning. I mean, I'm taking shots at +270 with terrible teams. I forget it. You beat me down, JJ. That's why you asked for my pick. I'm going to go Eagles here, +126. A dirty, aggressive Philadelphia dog. I bet Raheem, he's not in Philadelphia, but when he is there, he has to avoid him. They're growling at him as he enters the studio. This is what it's going to be with Philadelphia. 4-2 team against a 3-4 team. The 4-2 is getting points. I don't get it. Cincinnati really couldn't put the Browns away. They couldn't put the Giants away. I know they won, but those teams were in it kind of at the end. Why shouldn't the Eagles be in it? Bengals 27th in red zone defense. Eagles like to pound down low with Barkley. Their pass rush is heating up, and Bengals offensive line always susceptible to the sack. We know that with Joe Burrow. We haven't seen that stretch yet. We could see it today. I'm going to say 24-20. Dirty Birds take it.
Wow, going with a Philly special outright against Cincinnati, and that would be a devastating loss for the Bengals as they try to make the postseason within the AFC. Okay, Raheem, we had Joe House pick against his favorite team for his wise wager. You had me for the first time all year pick my team for the wise wager. Now you, sir, have your favorite team as your underdog of the week, despite all the history that's going against them in this particular spot. Why the Cowboys on Sunday night?
I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys plus 194. If you look at the San Francisco 49ers, they're having the season from hell. And I mean, everybody is in the hospital. Brandon Ayuk out for the season. Christian McCaffrey, who knows if he's ever going to play football again. Yes, Deebo Samuel, he was announced then, but he has pneumonia. I think you need lungs to play football. Like, I'm sorry. Jawan Jennings, he's out with a hip injury. Even the kicker has been hurt. Like, so now Brock Purdy, who he's had more help than any other player in the history of sports, now he has to get it done himself, and I don't think he can get it done himself. So I like the Cowboys to win this game. I think they're going to win this game outright. And if you look at Mike McCarthy off a bye, 13-3-1. So, last year off the bye, the Cowboys beat the Rams 43-20. I know the 49ers have been dominating us in recent memory. They beat us 3 straight times, including 2 in the postseason. But I saw an interesting stat on Twitter. I got to shout out Dave Lombardi for this. The 49ers have generated 1 explosive play on target behind the line of scrimmage this season. From 2018 to 2023, they generated 70 of those. Yes, 70. They only have 1 this year. So that tells you that this offense is struggling. They're not the same in the red zone. They're not the same driving up and down the field. I think Dak Prescott is going to pull something out of his bag. I know Micah Parsons and Deron Bland isn't playing, but that doesn't matter if everybody is hurt. So give me the Dallas Cowboys. I think me and Sal are going to be very happy today, and I'm sending him money for a beer.
Let's go, buddy.
Sal, this is one of those games with the Cowboys where it's a battle of the trends, because Raheem hit on McCarthy and his brilliance coming off the bye.
Right.
I could also counter Kyle Shanahan just absolutely owning Mike McCarthy and the Niners absolutely owning the Dallas Cowboys. This is your team. Do you think they win this game outright?
Listen, they have to come out with pride. They have to. This team has embarrassed them in the playoffs. Not the last 2 times it was the Packers, but it was weird endings, right, with Dak and just pulling up. They got to get their ass together. This has got to be it. I agree with you, Raheem. I think we come out strong. I just hope we don't fizzle at the end.
Okay, House. You gave out a monstrous dog for an OMG bet. You didn't go with that dog for dog of the week. Instead, you're going with a game that basically is one of the games of the week. Why the small dog here for man's best bet?
Because I don't have any guts. I mean, I really should have played on Jameis and gotten it all the way into bed with the Browns, but that hasn't worked out this year. Instead, we're going with Seattle at home against Buffalo. It's going to be a bad weather situation. It's going to rain. The wind is going to be strong. Now, Josh Allen is pretty good in bad weather, but at some point, we're looking at this road favorite, and this is the situation. 17-2, the dream observed, and look, we're going to get some regression on that. Buffalo hasn't beaten a team with a winning record yet, and there is something inside the X's and O's that I like about what Seattle is going to be able to do on offense in this bad weather that takes away the impact of DK Metcalf potentially missing this game. They like to give up underneath completions, and they try and avoid passes down the field. Well, we're not going to be looking for passes down the field in this bad weather. The Bills also give up explosive runs. They're inside the top 10 in terms of the runs they give up, and they allow a lot of yardage before they get to the guy. They're 5th worst in the NFL at getting to a running back before he gets ahead of steam. So I think this is a Kenneth Walker day. We're thinking he's going to be early and often. Also, I really like Mike McDonald's familiarity with Josh Allen and this Baltimore offense. The defense for Seattle is starting to get healthy, and very quietly, 2 new additions this week for the Seattle Seahawks at linebacker. They acquired Ernest Jones from the Tennessee Titans, and Mr. McDonald also grabbed off the waiver wire a linebacker that he had with him when he was with the Ravens. I do like Buffalo. I respect them, but I think it's a tough situation for them flying cross country into the bad weather. So I'm just taking Seattle at home to handle their business with the 12th man.
Juicy game. Could make the arguments the best game of the week. Buffalo going to the Pacific Northwest, and we'll see how Seattle handles things offensively without DK Metcalf. Okay, guys, this team should have lost, and should have lost in a big way last week. Instead, they lost a close game, and they screwed me in our wisest wager. The Houston Texans are going down to the Indianapolis Colts. This line is working in Indianapolis' favor, and I know what the narrative is going to be. JJ, you're going to take Anthony Richardson, who can't complete a pass, to go and beat CJ Stroud when he's much better at home? Yes, for a couple of different reasons. Number one, the Indianapolis Colts are getting Jonathan Taylor back. I love that. They're going to be able to run the football. Number two, as bad as their defense may be, you get DeForest Buckner back on that defensive line. That's big news from a Colts standpoint. And I just haven't loved what I've seen from the Houston Texans. To me, they are a fraud from a record standpoint. I need to see a lot more from the Texans before I'm putting them amongst the best teams in football, especially with the way their offense is struggling. I think Indy is covering this number, and we want to grow that lead for the dog. We want to have a big dog because Sal is done with the big dogs. I'm giving you a little under 2-1. Indianapolis Colts. Sal, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Let's go.
What's going on? We created a monster here, right? This is close to 2-1. Go. You have FU money, so why not? Let it fly.
I am letting it fly. It's like what Raheem would be doing if he were in my shoes, playing on the craps table after all the games wrap up tonight. Anyway, it's time for our second guest pick. We heard from the Ringer NFL guys. Now, the fantasy guys who actually had to go and present and had to be all buttoned up at our little conference that we had a couple of days ago. Well, now they got to be buttoned up and give us a couple of winners. Let's hear it, guys.
What's up, wise guys? Ringer Fantasy Football Show. We have an offering here for the family. Tony Pollard to score a rushing touchdown against the Detroit Lions this week. 11-point spread, maybe not the best idea. Number one, George Costanza. We're big believers in the Costanza here, which is, if every instinct you have is wrong, the opposite must be true. We feel there's no way the Lions can lose. However, left side of the Titans' offensive line, pretty boring, but pretty awesome, and I do think Tony Pollard has his juice back. I think if the Titans are going to score, it's going to have to be on the ground. They have to establish stuff. Aiden Hutchinson's out. We like Tony Pollard to score a rushing touchdown this week. Cash it.
Listen, I endorse it. Tony Pollard's had a productive, successful season, and if they're going to have any chance of keeping this game close against the Detroit Lions, he's going to have to be involved. He's going to have to go and run the football effectively. All you need him is find pay dirt, plus 135. Like it. Okay, House, let's get back on the SGP wagon. You went with a game that I didn't really think was SGP possible, but you found a way, so please share.
Well, I'm looking at the Panthers and the Broncos. That's right. And you can get this at nearly 7-1 odds. It's all the way up to plus 699 the last time I checked this morning. And it's a very simple game script. Javonte Williams, anytime touchdown scorer. Javonte Williams, over 63.5 rushing yards. He just had his best game of the season, got a ton of touches, getting the yardage. That's how you handle this game against the Panthers. You don't mess around. And then Bo Nix, he loves to run. Bo Nix, 25 yards or more on the ground. That's part of the weaponry, and that's also preventing game-altering turnovers from this Denver offense. It's not a formidable offense, but they don't have to do very much. Speaking of not doing very much, if they hold the Panthers total points under 14.5, which has been the case virtually all season long for the Panthers offense, now Bryce Young at quarterback, put those four together, nearly 7-1 odds, gents. I'm not sure how this doesn't cash. I already hit 3 4-leg same-game parlays. Let's make it 4, JJ.
I love it. Sal, I have to be fair. I didn't think you could come up with a possible SGP that I would like for Panthers and Broncos. I think our buddy made a pretty compelling case. I may have to ride, and considering his history with these SGPs this year, I kind of like his chances, Sally boy.
It's pretty simple. It's pretty dialed in. And yes, you're right. House doesn't go more than a couple weeks without winning another SGP. So go on. But you know what? Add Bryce Young to throw a touchdown to that. Chef's kiss.
Ooh. Now we're getting nuts. Okay. I don't think you guys are going to like my particular SGP. At least Raheem is not, because he's rolling with the Philadelphia Eagles over the Cincinnati Bengals.
No,
I
that's
think
not
you are
me.
Sal.
That's
Or is that
Sal.
Sal? I can't even keep track.
Yeah, I'm going Philly. Yeah.
It's a rat line for me.
We look
That's a
alike.
rat
We
line,
get-
and
we get
Sal's
it all
going
the
with
time.
Philly. Be that as it may, here's what I'm doing for my SGP. I'm taking Cincinnati, who is the far more desperate team, to go and win this game. I'm not messing with the 2.5. Just give me the Bengals to win. Joe Burrow, I think he will have success passing on that Philadelphia secondary, even without T. Higgins. All I need is 225 passing yards. I like the sound of that. Now, from an anytime touchdown standpoint, Jamar Chase, he is Mr. Automatic. He is going to find pay dirt in this game. Joe Burrow is going to look for somebody he can trust and count on. He will score. And then let's take Devontae Smith, who I think now is starting to get his sea legs back. Remember, he missed a game or two. All we need is 50-plus receiving yards out of Devontae Smith, who could easily get that on maybe even 1 or 2 receptions. That parlay pays a little under 5-1, so it's not going to be a pick that gets a Cousin Sal endorsement, but it's a pick I am going to make. Now, we have heard from Bill from Los Angeles, gentlemen. He has chimed in. He is all giddy because the Yankees are down 2-0 in the World Series. He was sitting front row. I had to see him, with a big smile on his face right behind the Yankee on deck circle. I'm mad that nobody got a screen grab of it. I missed it. It was too late. I was too ticked off. But I want to share the Podfather 4-leg super duper teaser. Sal, what can go wrong here? Baltimore, Cleveland over 31.5. Cleveland plus 20.5. Kansas City plus 4.5. Denver plus 2. Sal, you've known our buddy forever as far as making these sort of insane type of wagers. From Baltimore, Cleveland over 31.5. Cleveland plus 20.5. KC plus 4.5. Denver plus 2. Who screws it up?
I always laugh at these 4-leg, 13 points. I know Raheem hates the teasers also, and then I have egg on my face. Simmons usually comes through. He gets these. I don't know if Raheem mentioned, but the Ravens have allowed 84 fourth-quarter points this year. That's 12 per game. That's insanity. So I don't mind the over for that game. I don't mind the Cleveland getting the points. Kansas City, you can't. I mean, they're going to be plus 4.5. I got to beat that. Denver's the one that we have to pick one of those big 4 favorites, and that's the one that I think could go down. But I do like it.
Dream, we know you hate these, but who should Bill be the most concerned about as he's trying to bring this home to roost?
This one's impossible because I like every single one of these legs. Just for the sake of, just my natural hate, I have to say Kansas City just because I hate teasing through the 0. But I think this is a revenge game for Kansas City. We all know they lost that game to the Raiders on Christmas.
Yep.
And the Raiders were in the locker room smoking cigars. So I think you're going to see like that Michael Jordan, that Tom Brady, that anger out of Patrick Mahomes this week. And I think they're going to put the Raiders out of their misery. So I like all of these, to be honest with you.
House, you were thinking about actually taking the Raiders early in the week. You did a little about face on that.
Yeah,
face.
That was going to be my, oh my God, take the Raiders on the money line. And then I was reminded of the clips and watch Antonio Pierce talk his absolute nonsense. I hope he enjoys this year as a head coach because this is a one and done situation. The Chiefs are winning by margin. The last 2 weeks, they are kicking teams' butts, and they are going to come out and put the hammer down on this sorry Raiders team today, fellas.
Well, I hope they enjoyed the cigars. That's all I'll say. I hope they enjoyed the cigars. Okay, let's get in the lab. Let's get in the kitchen. And we are so beyond due, guys. Let's hit on the Week 8 family meal. So I'm going with a game right out of the chute here that we mentioned, and you mentioned it, House, as your dog of the week. I think we're going to have points between the Buffalo Bills and the Seattle Seahawks. And I know you're talking about some weather concerns and weather elements. I have not been in love with what I've seen from the Seattle defense. That's number one. And I think Seattle is going to be able to move the ball on the Buffalo Bills. Now, this total has come down a little bit, I think, because of the weather concerns. I don't think this is going to be a low-scoring game here. So contribution number one from me, let's go over 45.5, Bills and Seahawks. Sal, What are you bringing to the party?
Well,
Are
first
you
of
going
all,
with a total as well? I think we're in a total kind of mood.
I am, and it's your game. It's the one you're going to be laser focused on, much like you were. Boy, we had the big TV right in front of you. We had Miami and the Colts, and you didn't look away. People were telling you stories about Syracuse, the Bundo, but and you weren't even listening. But I'm glad you didn't, because the Bundo screwed us last week. We actually would have put together the family meal. The first one, I think we went 3-0. House was out, and we added the Bundo, and he screwed us with it.
See what happens, House, when you end up missing a week going on your excursions? When you're here, there, and
House.
everywhere, you miss out on a winner.
Yeah.
Thanks, House.
But I have go ahead, House.
I did get my hair colored. Go ahead.
You got it right, I think, this time. Cubano sandwich I'm going here, JJ, because it's in Miami, but not a full sandwich, about 3/4 of a sandwich, because I'm going under the total in that Arizona-Miami game. I know, JJ, you have dreams of Tua coming back and airing it out to Hill and to Waddle, and things are just like they were in the middle of last year, but I think they're going to be a little conservative with him early on. I really do. It's going to start off, and as bad as the Cardinals have been, they're top 10 guarding the red zone defensively. So Kyler in that offense could be lethargic, like you said, off a short week, coming cross country that Monday night. Lots of field goals. The under has hit in 7 of Miami Dolphins' last 8 games. I think 46.5 is a bit too high. Maybe a lot, maybe by a lot. I think this is like 21-17. And like I said, we've burnt the family meal the last few weeks, except for the bonehead really screwed us. But that's mine. Let's get it. Let's go 4-0.
Hey, I don't hate that under at all. Now, House, last week, family meal, I brought an anytime touchdown to the table. It cashed with ease. We went with the revenge angle for Saquon Barkley. This week, good sir, you, my friend, have an anytime touchdown for us. I like it. What would it be?
Yeah, it's correlated to my pick of the Chicago Bears against this Washington defense. This is DeAndre Swift anytime touchdown. Earlier in the week, it was plus money, but folks have woken up and started to pay attention to how the game script might go for Chicago today. DeAndre's got a touchdown 3 straight games. He's a huge part of the offense. I think this Bears offense is going to have tons of opportunities. The Commanders defense 29th in the red zone, and the Bears don't want to mess around. Give the ball to DeAndre, let him run it on in there, and we get to cash with an unbelievable sandwich. The Italian beef out of Chicago, fellas. I put it right there with the cheesesteak out of Philly. I mean, I'll stack that right up. It is a magnificent compilation of the beef, the giardiniera, which is, your vinegar pickled vegetables. It's chopped up perfectly. The jus inside the roll gets that whole thing nice and soft. It's a magnificent sandwich.
Is DeAndre Swift Italian? I didn't even know. Look, that's good research.
He might have a little Italian blood. You never know. Stranger things have happened. I like the Italian beef as well. Nice hit, House. Speaking of running backs, Raheem, you are contributing a running back prop for us. Who do we like?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a Mile High Subs sandwich. And, House already kind of gave this out as one of his legs for a same-game parlay. But as you know, me and House are always on the same page. We got the same mind. We connected. Anyways, let's go with Javonte Williams. Over 63.5 rushing yards. You look at the Panthers. They're giving up a whopping 162 rushing yards per game to opposing teams. They're 31st in rushing EPA per play. Javonte has hit this in 2 out of his last 4 games. I think he hits it again. I think you're going to see him break off, a couple of 10, 15-yard runs. And I also think this is going to be extended garbage time, and he's going to get some runs in there. So let's go over here.
All right, I like our family meal. Let's take a look one last time. We have the over for Buffalo and Seattle. Sal rolling with an under in Miami, Arizona. Then we got an anytime touchdown out of DeAndre Swift. Javonte Williams over 63.5 rushing yards. 12-1. Last week, it would have been a thing of magic. We were 1 leg short. Now that House is back in the mix, hopefully we can finally cash in on the family meal. And I have to address something before we keep this show moving with status updates as far as who's in and who's out. Raheem is going to let us know who the public is all over. Our esteemed pal thinks I'm a coward, cousin Sal. Mr. Simmons is very upset at me for not addressing the elephant in the room that is the postseason struggles of career 199 batting average Aaron Judge. And I am here. I am a man of accountability. Sal, you would think a guy who had to talk about this for an hour plus with Yankee fans yelling, screaming, moaning about Judge and what he's not doing in October, you would think our esteemed head of the Ringer would give me a little bit of a pass and say, this guy talked about this enough. I'm going to let him do a football show and leave him alone. He's just got to needle me that much more, Sal. It's really cruel, to be honest with you.
And I'm going to read the text if you don't mind. JJ, talk about Judge, you coward. This is Clayton Kershaw crossed with Karl Malone, crossed with Tony Atlas. Do you think they should bench him for Game 3? Wow.
Tony Atlas.
You remind him Tony Atlas was a champion with Rocky Johnson, so things could be on the up and up.
What they should do is swap him and Juan Soto in the batting order. Maybe you could actually see some pitches to hit. I'm not abandoning ship yet, Raheem, but I'll tell you right now, if the Yankees go and lose on Monday night, I may avoid Yankee Stadium for the remainder of the World Series. I'm just letting you know now.
Damn, you losing faith already? Come on, I thought you.
I didn't say I'm losing faith, and I know I gave you the history lesson, Sal. We did this before the show.
Yeah.
78-81, both teams down 2-0. Yankees lost the first two games, won 4. Dodgers in 81 lost the first 2, won 4, and Sal, I don't need to remind you of 1996. It puts a smile on my face. I'm back.
You know what? You don't have to remind me, but you may have to remind Simmons about 1986 when his Red Sox were up 2-0 on my Mets and couldn't get it done. Yeah.
See, I enjoy that reference. It would be way more enjoyable if the curse of the Bambino still existed. Anyway, let's take a look. Who's in, who's out for week number 8? Let's take a look. T. Higgins, out for Cincinnati. Problematic. Deebo Samuel, big deal for the Niners. Lost Ayuk for the year. Deebo's going to give it a go. No surprise Tyreek Hill is playing with the return of Tua. And this is a biggie. Jaden Daniels in for the Washington Commanders more than likely. And it's going to be a major conflict of interest for our buddy Joe House when he's sitting there at 425 and he's like, my wise wager is the Bears, but Jaden Daniels is playing. I can see the conflict within you, House. I can feel it. Raheem, you're going to say goodbye in a little bit. We got to fade the masses. Who is betting who? What is the public all over on FanDuel?
So we know that Bears line move with the Jaden Daniels move. But before that, we have 59% of the bets and 62% of the handle on Bears -3. It appears that the public really got the worst of it with this, injury update. But, best of luck to the public on that one. And then we got another one, Cowboys 49ers, 61% of the bets and 74% of the handle are on the Cowboys +3.5. You also have 67% of the money line bets and 64% of the handle on the Cowboys money line. So the public is all over our beloved Cowboys, and I think they're right.
Wow. Public coming in on Jerry McCarthy and Dak, even though they never beat the Niners. Well, Raheem, enjoy Las Vegas. Go play a couple of yellow 11s for me. Sal and House will be back. We'll welcome in Craig Horlback, anytime touchdowns, all that and more. It's the Ringer Sunday pregame right here on YouTube TV. Stay with us.
So this is the third year in a row that the Chiefs have added a guy. And, I think DeAndre Hopkins he's not like the guy who had 1,500 yards for the Texans a few years ago. I also think DeAndre Hopkins will absolutely make a difference-making play in a playoff game for Kansas City.
If anything, I think this will also just open things up for people like Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelce a lot. I don't think DeAndre Hopkins is going to be putting up 8 catches for 120 yards.
Yeah.
But I think because of his ability to win in man coverage and stuff like that, I think it's going to allow Xavier Worthy to not have to run those routes that he's not good at.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Now we're talking about all the receivers that have been associated with the Chiefs over the last couple of years, and I'm like, they have a type. They have such a type. Hopkins doesn't fit this type at all because he's sort of the reliable veteran, catch everything, huge catch radius, can win one-on-one. Everyone else that they've had, Rashee Rice, on the field, pretty reliable. Off the field, there's that whole thing. Hollywood Brown, one of the messiest receivers of the last few years. Obviously, Kadarius Toney, we've gone through that. Sky Moore can't freaking I'm actually scientifically fascinated with the Sky Moore thing. Why can't he just at least be a role player? He can't even get on the field. And then who am I missing? Oh, Xavier Worthy. Also, I think just kind of a messy, highly volatile type of player.
He's 21 years old.
Yeah. So they just have type play where it's you never know what you're gonna get with this guy. And then there was even last year Marcus Valdes-Scantling, McCole Hardman, both of those guys are super
Remember
chaotic.
The Sammy Watkins era?
I will say Hopkins, he's certainly different because he's no speed but contested catch. Hopkins is kind of the Chiefs type because he already missed time with a knee injury this year.
Oh, God.
So that, that is kind of what they're into. But
He's like already missing one ligament in his knee.
Welcome back to the Ringer Sunday pregame right here on YouTube TV with you for the next half hour. Got a lot more winners coming your way. Hey, football fans, the season is heating up, but prices for NFL Sunday Ticket are cooling down. That's right, you can sign up for the NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV bundle for only $209. Sign up and watch every game every Sunday for the rest of the season. Terms and embargoes apply. So, John Jastremski, Joe House, Cousin Sal, we say goodbye to Raheem Palmer. We welcome in from the Ringer Fantasy Football Rewatchables, a man of many talents. He's got a very proper Zoom setup. Craig Horlback, what's up, buddy?
What's going on, JJ? I got to say, you nail my last name. It's hard to get. Some people have it, some people don't. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's an it factor, Craig. What can I say? You know, it's a lot of years of having a thick, chiseled New York accent, and we may mispronounce a whole lot of things on this show, but we nailed your name right out of the gate. Let's start here. I'm going to give you our wise wagers for this particular Sunday, and I'm going to let you be the judge, and you can say yay or nay. I'll start with this one, Craig. Sal's taking the Patriots +7 against the Jets. Yay or nay?
Nay.
You would lay 7 with Aaron Rodgers and his Jet team. Interesting. Or is this an anti-Patriot play?
I think the Patriots are terrible, and I think Drake May's a good player, but Hassan Reddick's back for the Jets. This is now or never for the Jets. And I know we've been saying that for 2-3 straight weeks now, but I believe in this Jets team this week.
All right, understandable, and it is a now or never spot. You get Devontae Adams in there another week. We're going to see Hassan Reddick, who's going to make his season debut. So you're not going to give Sal the seal of approval here with Patriots +7.
Listen, let me just say, it's fine. He could go against it, and I know the Patriots have been bad. And who am I, Craig Horlback, Ringer Magazine's sexiest man alive 3 years running, so I'm not going to argue with you for sure. But this is the revenge game for the Patriots, you understand. This is their Super Bowl after getting crushed if they can't get it done or stay within a touchdown. Forget it. Pack it up for good.
Is it a revenge game if you're a terrible team? I don't know. I feel like
Sure.
you can only have a revenge game if you're good.
Yeah. They don't want to lose this series.
Okay, Craig. Wise wager number 2. House is actually going against his heart here. Now, we've seen this line move because it looks like Jaden Daniels is going to play in the marquee 425 game between the Bears and the Commanders. House took Chicago. Now, it looked like he was going to be laying a small favorite price. Now the line is flipped. Chicago is an underdog. You think House is making the right call, fading his boys here?
So this just moved. So what did the line land on, JJ? How much did it move?
Moved about 1.5. We looked like Chicago was going to be laying 1.5 for 2.5. Now Washington is laying 1.5.
I mean, Chicago's got a great defense, and Caleb has been playing better when they haven't really played good defenses on his side. And Washington is susceptible defensively. JJ's got the Jaden Daniels has the rib injury. So I think I agree with this. I think I'm here with this.
Okay, so House is going against his heart. Craig, you had to watch me sit through 4 quarters of Tim Boyle and Snoop Huntley last week for the Miami Dolphins. Homerism aside here, I just think it's a great spot for Miami. Arizona played a Monday night game. Short week, cross the country. Their offense has not been great. I'm not saying there won't be a rust factor for Tua, but Rusty Tua is still 10 zillion times better than any of the jabronis I had to watch at quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. I'm laying it. I know your fantasy teams are happy about this no matter what here. Can I get an endorsement on Miami -4?
Yeah, I think I'm with you here. Like you said, I'm a fantasy guy, so this is huge for people like Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane. I'm sure you saw the quote from Tyreek. He said, we're getting the band back together. I don't know if that inspires confidence or not, but he's clearly fired up. So I think I'm with you here. JJ, I wanted to ask you, everyone agrees Achane, Tyreek, no-brainer starts in fantasy. What about Jalen Waddle? I feel like Jalen Waddle has been dining off his speed and kind of being the counterpart to Tyreek Hill for 3 years now, and it hasn't really ever clicked. Do you think people should be starting Jalen Waddle this year because he's been terrible?
So I am way too invested in Jalen Waddle in all of my fantasy teams for what it's worth. And he's been a guy that's had 1,000 yards every year he's been in the NFL, and he's got an uphill climb if he's going to get there this year, Craig, because he hasn't had a quarterback. That Bama connection, and I know last year was all about Tyreek, and Tyreek was putting up the gaudy numbers. Felt like Waddle was kind of fighting through injuries. You go back 2 years ago, that combination, Tua to Waddle, was fun to watch. I mean, down the field, underneath, whole lot of targets. I'm not selling my Jalen Waddle stock yet. I think you can put him in your fantasy lineup this week, and I think you might see that Bama connection. Hey, everybody's so focused. Tyreek. Maybe it's Jalen Waddle for a big player too. So don't be selling that stock, Craigie boy.
I hope you're right. He needs to get into the end zone. That's what I need out of Waddle.
So you want him to find pay dirt. Fair enough. I understand. Okay, we gave out wise wagers. You gave out grades. Now it's time for you. I know it's not your forte. I know you're a fantasy guy, but you come on the show, you got to give us picks. That's how it works. What's your wise wager for week 8?
So correct me if I'm wrong here. Is Atlanta now favored by 1.5 against the Bucs? Is that correct in Tampa Bay?
2.5, 1.5. I'll double check the line for you, but in that ballpark.
Right. I don't really understand this, and I'm sure that this makes me a mark a little bit or something. But man, the Bucs losing Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Sometimes it's that simple, and I know it feels obvious. But that was the entire offense. And the line's 1.5. Atlanta's favored by 1.5. I know this is a revenge game for Tampa. This is the game where Kirk went crazy a few weeks ago. The Tampa defense has given up the second most yards per game in the league. This is going to be a high-scoring game. But look, I like Jalen McMillan as a flyer in fantasy this week and for the rest of the season. But Jalen McMillan's a rookie who's been hurt this year. You have Trey Palmer. You got Cade Otton, a team that can't really run the ball. I think this is very simple, which maybe this means I'll be wrong, but I am comfortable laying 1.5, 2.5, whatever it is under a field goal on Atlanta.
Now, Sal gave this out as his rat line of the week.
100%.
Sal, I would endorse Craig's pick here because of everything that's going on with Tampa Bay, not having Mike Evans, losing Chris Godwin for the year, uncertainty for who Baker Mayfield's throwing the football to. And Baker's been great. I mean, he's been unbelievable. He's played like a top quarterback in the sport, statistically speaking. Your feeling of this being a rat line style, this is entirely NFC South related, correct?
A lot of that, and a lot of it is, can I call this a revenge game, Craig? Is this okay? Because they did play, okay, good. So, yeah, I'm going to be a petty man and say I hate this pick because he didn't like my pick. But, yeah, I just think it's my rat line because it just seems too easy. Atlanta, 1.5, 2.5, wherever you get it, against Tampa Bay, who looked like garbage in the second, third quarter against Baltimore. And, yeah, what's their secret offensively is touchdown passes. Baker has 18, and most of them are to Godwin and Evans, and those guys aren't around yet. I just think it's too easy to take, and that's why it's my stay away.
I mean, so the Rams offensive coordinator last year, a guy who's been on the Rams for a long time, is now in Tampa Bay, Liam Cohen.
Right.
And we saw what happened to the Rams when they lost Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua all year. And now the same thing is happening in Tampa Bay with Liam Cohen's offense without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I don't know. It's extremely ratty, Sal. You're 100% right. It smells really bad, this line. But
it's a good point. I just, I have my biases, and I feel like, wow, Atlanta really got lucky. They lucked into this position, right? Everybody else in the division has shown some cracks, and like the Saints are going away, the Panthers are disgusting, and now Tampa has injury. And I'm like, maybe it just isn't that easy, JJ. I'm not sure.
You know what, though? I think Atlanta House profiles as the classic zigzag team. And we all watched last week. Seattle stuck it to them. Yeah. They were a small favorite. This kind of reeks of the Atlanta response spot. I think they're getting Tampa at a good time. In fact, I'm adding this to my card. I like the Falcons today. I really do, House.
Yeah, I like the Falcons also. And then I had to check myself because the rat element is very strong with this one. And the concern I have is how good Baker is when he's not under duress. And the Atlanta defensive front is just not getting home. They just don't put pressure on anybody. So if you give Baker time, I kind of feel like you're playing a little bit with fool's gold. The one thing about Atlanta that I do like is, Kirk Cousins is very comfortable against this Tampa Bay secondary. And I don't know how they slow down the Atlanta weapons. So it ended up being a stay away for me, but I understand why the lean would go in Atlanta's direction.
Are we going to break this game down for 4 minutes and not mention the creamsicle uniforms? I mean, that's got to be worth.
See, I think that's good for Atlanta. As great as those creamsicle uniforms may look, they symbolize being awful. They symbolize garbage. I like that for you, Craig. I like
Yeah.
that.
I just think, look, if tomorrow morning I wake up and I lost a bunch of money because Jalen McMillan and Trey Palmer shredded me, I'm okay with that. I can live with that.
You tipped the cap. I like it. All right, so we transition from Craig's wisest wager to some anytime touchdowns. And you fantasy guys came on earlier in the show. You guys did all your great work for the Spotifest or whatever was going on in Los Angeles this week. By the way, Craig, can we get Heifetz a better shirt? It's not one of his best shirts. Can we acknowledge that?
Yeah, the shirt was very popular online, for better or for worse. But look, I respect it. You know, Heifetz, it reflects his personality. It's perfect for him.
What was
I
his
get
shirt?
that,
He
and
was
I'm all
wearing a
for the
Giants
bold.
jacket the whole time.
He was wearing some pink button
No,
down.
it was like some weird pattern shirt, which usually is up my alley, Craig. This is usually my kind of fashion. I like to get nutty with the suits and the turtlenecks, and I'm not Mr. Boring, obviously, but even that for me was like, wow, that's a bold shirt, Heifetz. It was bold.
Yeah, we were all shocked, but
Craig, long story short, you would not be wearing that shirt.
no, not unless I lose a bet, which I might today.
All right, well, hopefully it's not the Falcons, because I'm telling you, we need some anytime touchdowns. You guys gave out Tony Pollard. That's one I really like. Are there any other anytime touchdown bets we should be looking to make?
I like a couple here. I like Tank Dell's plus 165 to score. I think people are off the scent after he put up 0 catches last week. He should have had a touchdown last week, though he dropped it in the end zone. He caught a touchdown the week before that and looked good. He leads the team in end zone targets since Nico Collins went down. And I think there's a squeaky wheel narrative with him. Stroud emphasized after the terrible loss last week that they got to get him more involved. I think it's a get right spot. I'm not for Dell. I think this is going to be a close game. We can get to this later, who I actually like in this game. But I don't feel intimidated by the Colts defense through the air. And I think Tank is a solid bet here. He should have 2 straight touchdowns in two of the last 2 weeks. So I think Tank plus 165 I like.
All right, you're going with Tank Dell. There's another one, though, that's related to that Chargers-Saint game, which, by the way, Craig, is a game that we have not touched on for an hour and 10 minutes. It has kind of become like the forgotten game, I guess, on a particular card. Nobody bet it. Nobody gave out any props.
Wow.
You have an anytime touchdown in that Saints-Chargers game.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins. I mean, you're laying a lot of juice. He's minus 180, but the Saints just got shredded by Javonte Williams and then Bucky Irving and the Bucs run offense the week before that. Two teams not really known for running the ball super well this year. Dobbins is on the field all the time. There's no real vulture potential here. The rookie Kamani Vidal is kind of like a third down passing replacement for him. So I like this a lot for a Chargers team that blew a game to the Cardinals last week, and they need to win at home today. So I like J.K. a lot, who hasn't scored in a couple weeks.
All right, so Dobbins, running back prop. Sal, your anytime touchdown that kind of is catching your fancy. He's also a running back prop.
Yeah, well, Craig, I mean, you must hear people complaining all the time about Jahmyr Gibbs. Why aren't his numbers bigger? People throwing stuff at their TV when David Montgomery scores. But Montgomery's the man, right? And minus 155, you're laying a hefty price. But I like him to find pay dirt this week. He scored in 5 of his last 6 games. He scored in 12 of his last 15 regular season games. He's had 13 touches inside the 10 and scored 5 times. Gibbs has only had 8 touches. So I don't think you have to worry. I think there's going to be a lot of points. JJ laughed at my Bills pick. I said they're going to roll. They're going to end up scoring against this Titans team, and they did. I think we see the same thing. Plenty of scoring. Tennessee's defense isn't bad, but they create really good field position with their turnovers. A fat vig, but it's going to be worth it when he scores in the second quarter from the 6-yard line. I'm going to say off tackle right.
House, you're going with the one you gave out for our family meal, right? DeAndre Swift. You're not reinventing the wheel here?
No, and you do have to lay some juice now. He was plus money earlier in the week, but this is simple. I think Chicago's going to get a good number of scoring opportunities. He scored 3 straight touchdowns, and it's what Chicago wants to do. Protect the ball once they're inside the red zone. Washington, 29th in red zone defense. I think it's a simple one.
Speaking of simple, Tyreek Hill has not scored since week 1, has basically been in the witness protection program. He's a showman. We know that about Tyreek Hill. And I don't know if he's going to have the gaudiest of stat lines like he's had in years past or like he had just a season ago. But I kind of get the sense either on a bomb or maybe it's a quick little hook that Tua Love thrown to him last year, that little out that I think he scored about 5 or 6 touchdowns on. I'm going to take Sariq at plus money to go and score his second touchdown of the year. I know that's not ideal if you're a fantasy owner, but hey, If he starts getting going here in the second half of the year and you were able to survive the avalanche, it may be worth it. Now, remember that FanDuel has a host of profit boost tokens to choose from, including the Great Double Your Winnings boost. Make sure you opt in on FanDuel so you can apply the different boosts to your favorite bets throughout the day. And don't forget, Sunday profit boost, 30% anytime touchdown on all Sunday games, 30% SGP profit boost on Sunday Night Football. So, Sal, you can use that on your Cowboy SGP for tonight.
I love it. I love the profit boost, and I love that no terms or embargoes apply here. Or do they? I got to read the fine print.
You better than me. I'm going to let you go down that road. I will plead the fifth on the terms and embargoes, okay? I'm pleading the fifth.
You got it.
I'm giving you the Mark McGuire treatment. Okay, Craig, we're going to run through a bunch of games. We have some underdog picks on these. Some of these may profile as rat lines. We'll start with Monday night. The Giants and the Steelers. We have a segment on the show, Craig, called OMG, I Can't Believe I Made This Bet. And myself and Raheem Palmer can't believe we actually bet the Giants +6 in this game. I can't lay points with Russell Wilson. The Steelers are not as good a favorite as they are on the road. And I know all the trends on Monday Night Football tell you, hey, the Steelers are amazing. They don't lose these primetime games. They don't lose Monday night games. I don't need them to lose the game. I just need them to cover 6. It's an OMG bet for me. I have a feeling I'm not getting your endorsement on this one.
No,
I don't think you like the Giants.
I'm pulling a house. I do like the Giants here. I'm going against my team a little bit, which it's crazy what a single game can do to your opinion. I was against Tomlin going with Russ over Fields, and now I've talked myself into the strategy a little bit. Now, by week 10 or so, we're going to kind of see what a full sample of the Fields Steelers looked like and a sample of what the Russ Steelers look like. But I got to say, I thought last week Russ played fine, but I'm not sold. The Jets stink. I think Pickens bailed him out 3 times. A lot of underthrown tip balls that Pickens came down with. They were getting booed in the first half. Russ threw 2 balls back-to-back in the dirt. He barely threw, 5 passes over the middle of the field. I think Tomlin, it's a smart move putting him up against the Jets and the Giants in back-to-back weeks. I think that's good coaching in my opinion, but I don't know. I mean, we got Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence back. The Giants are going to have a really tough time blocking the Steelers, but I think the Steelers are going to have a really tough time blocking the Giants. So if anything, I would take the Giants +5.5. Malik Neighbors is back. Maybe teasing an adjusted under or something like that. I think this game's going to be ugly and low scoring, and we're going to get vintage Russ. We're going to get Denver Russ is my prediction this week.
Yeah.
House, I don't know how you weigh points with the Steelers in this game at 5.5 or 6. I don't know how you do it.
I'm already on the Giants. I have money on the Giants. I might play their money line. I might get on the Giants. This, what we saw last week out of Russell Wilson was entirely a function of that garbage Jets situation. Them not being able to get home against Russ with the injuries on the Steelers offensive line is a disaster. It's worse than that. But I think the Giants are going to get home. I mean, I think we've seen at this stage of his career, Russell Wilson under pressure is very inefficient. He does not like it. He tries to get away from it. He's not fast enough to get away from it. So I really like the Giants in this situation.
Yeah.
Sal, United front?
I think it is, and I'm worried about that, right? Is that ever good when we're all on the same page?
You
here?
never know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to will good vibes into existence. You're trying to go the other way.
No,
so,
I'm not,
you
but I'm
tell
going
me.
to say I do think we're going to go back and forth. Everyone's like, Mike Tomlin, he definitely made the right decision. I think over the next month, we're going to be like, we'll go, oh, no, Fields was no, Russell Wilson. No, I just don't see that he's going to put together like 3 or 4 great games or whatever. And let's be fair, a lot of those were underthrown passes to George Pickens that he came down with the 50-50 ball. So, and it was against the bad Jets. I will say this, though. Can they do something? Daniel Jones is so bad at night, just so bad in these night games. We're in the most technologically advanced stage of civilization. Can we put a visor on to make it look like it's daytime that he's watching the games? And can't we just do that for him? I think things would be so much better for the Giants.
Yeah, maybe they actually win a couple of these primetime games.
Yeah.
You got to work on that technology. Craig, Sunday night, Sal's Cowboys going into the Bay Area, taking on a team that has absolutely owned them. I mean, Kyle Shanahan eats Mike McCarthy's lunch. They've beaten him a couple of times in the postseason. They humiliated them last year on Sunday Night Football. But McCarthy's pretty good coming off the bye. We know the Niners have a ton of injuries. Tough game. Line is at 4.5. The public apparently is all over the Dallas Cowboys, according to our pal Raheem Palmer. If I'm playing this game, I'm not fading Shanahan in this spot. I don't trust the Cowboys, especially without Micah Parsons. We had a couple of guys make the case for Dallas. Where would you side on Dallas and San Fran?
I mean, it's certainly the year from hell a little bit for the Niners here. I don't know if you call it a Super Bowl hangover or if it's just bad luck and regression. I mean, the last time the Niners lost the Super Bowl, they went 6-10 and missed the playoffs the year after that. No Ayuk, no Juwan Jennings, which is brutal. Still no McCaffrey, but I still think this team has a lot of talent. I think, they're 9th in total DVOA right now. Dallas, I think, is 23rd. San Francisco's defense has still been good. Like you said, they play the Cowboys well. Purdy is 2-0 versus the Cowboys. He has no turnovers in those games. I think the Niners are going to be able to run the ball. No Deron Bland and no Micah Parsons, right, for this game. So I think I lean San Francisco at home in this game.
Sal, do you see a script where if you're taking Dallas, you just take them to win the game? Or do you see those 4.5 becoming very valuable?
Yeah, I think they could be valuable because I think the Cowboys come out to a lead. So, right, if they're winning 10-0, you don't want 49ers minus 4.5. But I'm writing my own script here based on McCarthy off the bye. I think he actually has this team ready for the game, and then they falter at the end. But, yeah, damn, I would have loved to have Micah Parsons in this hounding Purdy for 3 hours, but doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Come on, just get it together, Cowboys. Just do this once against the 49ers. This is because of the tours they give at the stadium, Joe House. You understand? That's why they're losing.
Well, the stadium is the only attraction at home lately with Dallas. They can't win any home games for whatever reason, Cousin Sal.
Yeah,
I like Dallas here. I mean, I don't like. I wouldn't lay all 4.5. I mean, if you wanted to say San Francisco by 2.5. That with all the injuries they have, that's fine. I don't mind San Francisco being favored, but the rest is good for Dallas. And I am a believer after watching Dak dissect that Pittsburgh secondary, the way that the Dallas controlled Pittsburgh, that defense on the road, night game, on grass. I mean, I think there's a blueprint here, and Rico Dowdell's not. He's kind of physical. If they really can establish him at all, I think that Dallas could could slow this thing down a little bit, take some points, take some air out of the ball. I like Dallas. I think they're live.
Okay, Craig. House gave out Seattle as his dog of the week. Juicy game. Buffalo coming into Seattle. No DK Metcalf. Buffalo has been rolling. They've been steamrolling a bunch of these games, including last week against Tennessee. Is this a tough spot for the Bills? You got to make a play on this game. Buffalo, Seattle, where do you stand?
No, I like Buffalo. I can't get that Seahawks loss to the Giants out of my head. It's like an ick to me. I can't stop thinking about it. They lost 29-20 at home to the Giants without Malik Neighbors. I know the Seahawks were banged up, but the Bills are good. They just got Amari Cooper, and the no DK Metcalf thing freaks me out. I don't know how they're going to create explosive plays. It's how they win. Jackson Smith and Jigba and Tyler Lockett and Noah Fant. It doesn't do it for me. They're going to have to run the ball a lot, which I think is going to be tough. So I like the Bills. The no Metcalf thing is too important to me.
See, I'm with you on this, Craig. I don't love this game. It's not a part of my card. If I was playing it, I'm taking the quarterback and the team I just trust a lot more. I trust Buffalo a lot more than I trust Seattle. And Sal, no Metcalf. I mean, that's a huge loss. You can't understate that for Seattle. I don't know where Geno Smith is finding those explosive plays from the pass game standpoint.
For sure. It's tough, right? If you don't like Tampa without their receivers, Seattle down DK Metcalf is a similar situation. But, JJ, you hit it on the head. You're trusting the better quarterback, and that quarterback's gone 9 games without throwing an interception. And this is after going 12 of 13 where he did throw an interception. So if you can eliminate an interception from your quarterback, an offense who can now throw to like 7 or 8 receivers, I'm not betting against the Bills anytime soon.
And don't rule out Josh Allen finding himself into that MVP conversation. I know his numbers are nowhere close to what Lamar Jackson's may be, but let's not forget Lamar Jackson came out of nowhere last year to steal the MVP from Brock Purdy on that Christmas game. I'm just saying there's a pathway for Josh Allen to go and win 11, 12, 13 games, win a division title, and snake an MVP. It's something to think about. Okay, Craig, this is my dog of the week. We've been red hot with these. Indianapolis, I don't need the points. They're beating Houston today. Houston has not played as well as their record would indicate. CJ Stroud, I know the splits, he's much better at home, but you give me Jonathan Taylor back. You give me DeForest Buckner back. Colts, Texans. Can I get you on board? Colts winning this game?
I don't know if I'm quite on money line, but I'll take the Colts with the points. Richardson was a little rusty in his first game back, but he ran a lot more, which I really like. To me, that's a good sign. And it looks like, the Colts are going to have Jonathan Taylor and all 4 of their receivers healthy for, I believe, the first time this season. I think they're a completely different team with Jonathan Taylor. I was not sold on the Trey Sermon, Tyler Goodson experience. And the Colts D has been better as of late. I think they're 3rd in defensive EPA versus the run. You mentioned DeForest Buckner's back, and I'm not sold on Bobby Slowick, the OC, the boy wonder OC in Houston. I think for a guy who's got the reputation of being young and exciting, I think he's actually quite conservative. They don't throw the ball on first down. They put Stroud in sticky situations. And this no Nico Collins thing, just like the DK Metcalf absence, I think it's really important. I don't think they have the same deep threat. So I think this game is going to be close and messy. And I think Indy's just better coached.
Sal? Colts?
Well, no, I think I'm going Texans here. I think they distance themselves from this AFC South, and I was actually impressed. They're also a zigzag team if you look back, but I was impressed with the way they played defense, JJ, last week against the Packers. And, you're going up against Anthony Richardson, who I think had 10 completions last week, so I think they lay down a thump on this Colts team. By the way, this is 29-27 in week 1. This is a very good game. I get very sad this time of year when we're already rematching some of the division games, but I do like the Texans minus the points.
Okay, House, 2-1 right now with Indianapolis. Can you join the party, or are you going to align with Sal?
No, I like the Colts here. I do think that they have the coaching advantage, and I think inside the X's and O's, the cornerback that's going to be covering Tank Dell, I couldn't move fast enough to grab his name, has quietly been having a very good coverage season since the beginning of the year. The Colts defense is slightly improving. Now they get the benefit of playing, the Dolphins. That's going to make your numbers look good under any circumstances. But the inability of Houston to do anything on early downs is a problem. I mean, they're one of the worst early down success rate teams in the league, and they put all this pressure on CJ. At some point, that pressure comes home to roost. The reason why Houston could blow this game out, and it could be a Cousin Sal version of this, is Joe Mixon is so important to them in terms of the variety of offense and variety of explosive plays. He really he's only played now half of the season for Houston, but when he plays, it's a different looking offense.
We got one more game to hit on here, Craig. Green Bay and Jacksonville. I think this line stinks to the high heavens. I know Green Bay has won a bunch of games here. They're only laying 3.5 in this spot. I feel like they are begging you to take the Packers here. I'm not going to be surprised if Jacksonville can keep this game within a number, as crummy as they have looked. Is this an easy win for the Packers, or are you smelling a little buyer beware?
I like the Packers here. I know this is also another rat line, but maybe I'm going to get screwed this week. I don't know. I don't think enough people are talking about Green Bay this year. They're 5-2. Jordan Love leads the league in passing touchdowns since coming back from the injury, and I think there's a few reasons why. I think, one, the NFC North is pretty stacked. There's great storylines. The Lions are the best team in the league, probably the most beloved team in the league. You got Caleb Williams, #1 pick. The Bears playing well. The Vikings are the best team in the league. The Darnold thing, it's a great story. And the Packers are just kind of sitting there at 5-2. And I don't think they're given the same media attention as the other teams. And I think right now they're kind of the least interesting team that could win the Super Bowl, in my opinion. And I also think a big reason is this team hasn't been on primetime. So there hasn't been a real public conversation about this team. They've played one game in primetime, and it was on a Friday on Peacock in Brazil when Jordan Love got hurt. That's the only primetime game they've had. All these other teams, Lions, Chiefs, Ravens, Niners, Bills, they've all had 2 to 4 primetime games. So I think everyone is sleeping a little bit on this Packers team, which is really, really well coached. I mean, they lost to Minnesota in Love's first game back, where it took them kind of a half to get going. And then they lost that week 1 game in Brazil, and that's it. I think they're well coached on offense and on defense. They held Stroud to 86 yards passing last week. And Robert Saleh is now on this team, the best man in LaFleur's wedding.
Oh, baby. Bobby Saleh, he's back.
Bobby Saleh is consulting the offense for Green Bay. Him and LaFleur are best friends. Like I said, I believe it was LaFleur was the best man in Saleh's wedding. So the vibes are back. The boys are back. I believe they call themselves the Piss Boys. You double check me on that, but those two are best friends.
I thought that was me and House.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
I tell you guys are the disgusting
Love to
brothers.
fight
I don't know, Sal.
Both.
I kind of had you in house pinned for the disgusting brothers. Just
Yeah,
saying.
close.
But I'm with you, Craig. I like the Packers as a Super Bowl bet. I have it at 20-1. I just think in this game, don't be surprised if they pull this one out only by 3. We shall see. Craig, thanks for joining us here on the Ringer Sunday pregame. I wish I could roll out of bed and look as put together as you
Oh,
do. Must be
geez.
nice.
Yeah,
Well,
it's getting ridiculous.
it's great. I'm not a gambling guy. I'm a fantasy guy, so I'm going to lose all my picks today. But thank you guys for having me. That was great.
Hey, you'll make us some money. For House, Sal, Craig Hallback, John Jastremski signing off. That's going to do it. We'll see you next week for week number 9. Be good, everybody.